が消えかかるそれがオレンジャー熱い血流れる鋼のマシン
Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 38 for Your Eyes Ohranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Chouriki Sentai Ohranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listener. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today, bud?
I'm good. Or I'm well. I'm not good, but I am doing well.
All right. That is both good to hear, and it is well with my soul to hear it.
See, there you go. Right. That's the proper usage of those words.
You know what else is good, Dave?
My new Twitter feed?
It is.
Yeah.
It is very good.
This isn't a star, because we're doing a weird thing with the stars today, but I started reading Ziggy, like old Ziggy, and
like oldest Ziggy, right?
Ziggy.
Like original Ziggy.
Yeah. I just started at
OZ.
Yeah, I just started at Comic 1, and it's horrifying. It's just like crushingly bleak, and so I started a Twitter feed where I just recap in a sentence or two, like especially standout Ziggy comics. You can find it at also Sprach Ziggy. ALSOSPRACH Ziggy. So if you want to get in on that comedy.
It's very good, especially if you want to be very sad.
But like about a cartoon character? But also maybe about Tom Wilson, who is the dude who writes the strip?
Anyway, we will talk about that a little more next week. Because it's very fresh. And so I want to give you a little time to sort of build up some more stuff to talk about
a little bit before we turn it into a full-fledged star.
Maybe next week we can do a recitation.
I'll practice.
But Dave, speaking of the stars, we have 5 of them this week, as always. There are 5 stars shining in the heavens. What is our first star of the week?
Well, so before I actually say what the stars of the week are, we just got off of our, well, actually not just a week ago, we did our yearly Friend Con, and it was amazing. But what we didn't do while we were doing our Friend Con was record an episode of this show. So sorry, guys, but you guys got another episode of Live and Let Spider-Man. Live and Let Spider-Man, right? Yeah.
No, the Spider-Man Who Loved Me.
The Spider-Man Who Loved Me. Live and Let... Yeah, anyways, the Spider-Man Who Loved Me, that's much better. So, in a way, you're welcome.
Yeah.
But it's been a pretty crazy week, and so we haven't done a whole lot. So what we thought we would do is that the big kind of focus of this yearly con that we do with our friends, aside from just seeing our good friends and enjoying each other's company, is we play a bunch of board games. And so this is temporarily a mini board game podcast for a few minutes.
Welcome to For Your Eyes Ohranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated both to Chouriki Sentai Ohranger and some games we play.
Yeah, so this is like probably like a slightly less good version of another podcast that I don't listen to, but I'm sure exists. So here we go. I like to keep people's expectations real low, Matt, so that way if we do stumble on some comedy gold in this segment, it'll be a delight.
But Dave, the problem is I did just say that we were the best and only something, so you can't counter that by saying that there's probably a better one out there. That contradicts both of the things I just said.
No. See, because the other podcast is only about board games, not about Chouriki Sentai Ohranger and board games. So we're still in that. So no one can take that away from us. Well, I guess somebody could, but nobody, I don't think, is going to.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't perjuring myself.
No, you're good. So the first exciting thing is we've actually talked about this game before. Samurai Spirit. You're basically playing through Seven Samurai, the Akira Kurosawa film, but you're also werebeasts. So that's amazing. And I would play a role-playing game set in that universe in a hot minute.
Right. I mean, it's kind of Exalted, and you would like to play that all the time anyway.
Well, yeah. Well, that is a very good point. Yeah, you're basically Lunar Exalted, and Lunar Exalted are very cool. But it is just like devilishly hard. I have played that game a bunch of times, and we finally won it. It's a cooperative game.
It took us a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, like not like playing constantly or anything, But yeah, we played this game a bunch of times, and it's a cooperative game that you are playing, like you and your friends are playing against the game. It's like set up in such a way that it has like an automated process, and you're going to try to go through it. And we've never won before. We finally won, and it felt very, very good. That game is very hard.
Yeah.
So
and it's always it felt especially good because the way the game plays out is like you have 7 people around the board playing. One person plays each samurai. So when you finally do win, the feeling of collaboration in that is super good.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's a very, very good game. It's called Samurai Spirit. You should get it. So our first star of the week, Matt, is a game called Time Stories, which is actually a game that I got for you for Christmas, which I think we talked about, and it was mostly a present for you, but it was also a little bit of present for me, because I very much wanted to play it.
Right, you knew that I was going to play it with you.
Yeah. So here is the deal with... Well, it's your game, Matt. Do you want to...
Well, I mean, we both played it together.
So
the idea of the game is that you are from like an agency in the future, and I think there's actually a TV show loosely based around a similar premise.
Oh,
where
okay. Oh, yeah, there is. I don't remember what it's called, though.
Yeah, like people's consciousness gets sort of quantum leaped into the past.
Oh, yeah, man. The name of the show, that's it. It's Quantum Leap.
No, I mean, there's a different non-quantum leap show of this premise.
No, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is another, it's a cooperative game. You together are playing against the game. And the game itself is basically a very elaborate choose-your-own-adventure book.
Yes.
I think that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, it's played out in the course of a deck of cards. Some of the cards have, like, clues on them, but mostly the way that it works is you sort of line up a few cards next to each other, and the images on those cards line up to sort of show you a room.
Yeah.
And then you explore that room by flipping over those cards one at a time. And as you're doing that, you're trying to get the clues together to solve like the big mystery. But the thing is that you only have like a set number of moves that you can make before you run out of like time energy
is what they call it. Yeah, and you get like shunted back to the future.
Right, and then you get to try it again. But it starts you back at the very beginning, but you have the knowledge from the day before. So it's a combination of, like, murder mystery, like, Resident Evil riddle stuff, plus Quantum Leap, plus Groundhog Day in a board game.
That's a very good way to describe it. It was super, super cool. Something that we discovered sort of at the very end of this game is that you can definitely lose.
Yes, eventually, if it sends you through the game enough times and you make a sort of colossally bad mistake right at the end.
Well, don't say too much, but yes.
Yes, it can break bad for you, but that does not stop it from being super fun. It was a great time.
In fact, I think it really adds to the fun. I really like. It's a cooperative game. You know, you can lose it because a lot of the times I feel like when you're doing a cooperative game, it's like you could lose if you like boof it.
Well, I mean, we did just talk about how Samurai Spirit beat us for like 5 years running.
Yeah, that is true. But there are other games where, like, the thing I think about Samurai Spirit that's a little bit different, and the Pandemic I feel the same way about, is that you can do everything kind of as right as you could do it, and this is particularly true of Pandemic, and still just lose. Like, when we lost in Time Stories, it was like, ooh... Yep. No, there was basically no random element in that game aside from some dice rolls. Like, we just made the wrong decision and we lost. And even though we lost, it was really fun and it was still a very satisfying experience. And there's a ton of expansions for it. So
yeah, the way the expansions work is like once you solve the riddle, like you can play the game again, but there's kind of not a reason to because
you could like speed run it, I guess. Like
right.
See how fast you can get through it, but
what they do is, since the game plays out through these decks of cards, they have expansion things that are just a different deck of cards that take you through an entirely different mystery.
Yeah, so we're very much looking forward to doing that.
Yeah.
Matt, what is our second star of the week?
Dave, our second star of the week is a game that a game franchise that I had not thought about in, I don't know, a decade. And this is Ninja Burger.
Yeah. I have they're upstairs on my board game thing, the original, like, sort of tabletop RPG Ninja Burger.
Which was not bad. It was a very simple game, but, like, pure in its simplicity.
No, I was about to say that exact same thing. But yeah, it was a fairly straightforward, it was a little RPG, and it wasn't meant to be played for, like, an epic campaign of 6 years. But you could play it, like, a few times with the same characters over the course of, I don't know, a month or something.
Yeah, it was largely designed for one-shots, and I think the idea of the game is that you are, like, you play a ninja, you work in a place called Ninja Burger, where you, like, use your ninja skills to stealthily deliver meals to people.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. So in addition to, like, the original role-playing game, there is a new, like, Steve Jackson, I don't know how new it is, but there is a Steve Jackson Ninja Burger, like, card game.
Yeah, and it sort of combines the sort of original ethos of the tabletop with a kind of Munchkin style gameplay.
Yeah, I was actually going to say it's a Steve Jackson game. It feels a lot like Munchkin, which is
not a bad game. And
that's not a bad thing.
If you like Munchkin but are kind of sick of Munchkin, this is a nice way to enjoy a similar game with, like, kind of a twist on it.
Yeah, and it does suffer from kind of the same. It has a lot of the same fun of Munchkin and, like, other Steve Jackson games, but it also has the same foibles, which is everybody's kind of playing, and then one person starts to pull ahead, and then everybody uses all of their abilities possible to, like, crush that one person and stop them from winning until you can't stop them from winning anymore, and then probably somebody else wins because, like, they snuck up. And that's kind of how the game plays out. But it was a lot of fun. It was very funny.
Yeah, it was a good time. Dave, what is our fourth star of the week?
So our fourth star of the week, Matt, is a game that was invented by our pal Aaron Eller, and he has created this game. It's a second. I didn't play the first game he made, and as I understand it, game would be like a very loose interpretation of that experience.
Yeah, Aaron listens to the show. He'll probably get to this episode in about a year, but I think he would be the first to admit that the first game he created, Bureau Crazy, the work game, is not what we would call. I mean, it is kind of a game because there were rules and cards, but it was not like a real sort of fun adventure in board gaming. And I think that he took that experience and learned a lot from it, and he made a new game that I watched you play, but I was playing a different game that was very cool that I don't even know if we're going to have time to talk about this week, called Azul. That was also good. But Dave, tell me about this game.
So this game is called Blanket Fort Battles, and the idea of the game, it's a cooperative game where it's like 3 players and then 1 player is like the GM, kind of, and it's a miniatures war game, but the conceit of it is that you are a kid hanging out in your basement because your parents are having an adult dinner party upstairs. And so you and your cousins are down in the basement, and you are playing Blanket Fort Battles. And there are, like, monsters as represented by, like, your older sibling, like, messing with you and pretending to be the monster. And all of the equipment is just toys that Aaron's actual children have down in the basement. So there's, like, weapons equipment, which is, like, 2 plastic medieval swords and, like, a toy lightsaber and a Nerf blaster and all this other stuff. And so as a character, you get, like, a weapon, a mode of transportation. So my character had 2 frisbees that I could throw, and I could, like, teleport between frisbees by jumping. And our buddy Cody had a boat that you could only travel on, like, water blankets.
Sure.
And then Brian, I think, had roller skates, which was like he could move really far, but only in a straight line, and he had to roll a d6 every round to see if he fell over, in which case he only got to move 1 square. Yeah. And then, so you have a weapon, and then you have a mode of transportation, and then you have a disguise. So my disguise was Viking engineer. I'm not really sure how those things got combined. There's like Viking engineer, pirate captain, kindly doctor, cat girl, and a couple other ones. And then those all kind of give you like a class. And then you also had one miscellaneous item. And you just had to fight like little goblins and elves and stuff. And you don't have hit points, which is great. You just have fear tokens, which is like if you get a little too spooked by your older brother, you have to like run back to the blanket fort that's in the middle of the board.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so little kids aren't like getting hurt. That's nice. And yeah, and
that would be a weird game.
that would be uncomfortable. And yeah, so it's just, I mean, it was his first like go around. Like we were the very, very first beta. Is there a version before beta testing? If there's a version before beta testing, alpha testing, we were the alpha testers on this game. And so, you know, like it was very rough around the edges, but it was a really fun idea. Like if I would not be surprised if I saw a game in a game store that was that conceit. And it was basically that exact same game, just kind of polished up. I think it would look really fun, and I would probably buy it if I had money to buy it. So yeah, so that's what we did. That was our fourth game. What, Matt, was our fifth star of the week?
Fifth star of the week. Dave, I will give you dealer's choice on this. Do you want one last board game, or do you want me to switch it up and tell you about a video game I've been playing?
Matt, let's switch it up. Tell me about this video game.
Okay, this video game is something that I got for free on like Games with Gold like 3 months ago and had never gotten around to playing. It is called The Witness, and it is like a super pleasant game to sit down and play while listening to an audiobook or a podcast.
Well, that sounds ideal for you, yeah.
Here's how it works. There's very little background music and almost there's no speech in the game. It's just this like lovely island, like this lovely colorful island with a bunch of different biomes that you wander around.
Okay, I'm intrigued so far.
Yes. And as you go through these areas, you run into these sets of puzzles. And all the puzzles work on the same general rule, which is that, Dave, do you remember the game Flow? Like the iOS game?
Oh, yeah. I love Flow. We've talked about Flow. How maybe the world's greatest Flow player? Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, there is a Flow Hexes game and a Flow Warps game that I just recently checked out.
Yeah, I played Flow Hexes. It was not... Like, I get it. Anyway.
Hexes was not as fun as Squares.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the way that this game works is you have these sort of grids, and you need to draw a line through the grid from, like, point A to point B. But there are various, like, qualifying rules for the different grid puzzles. So, like, in some of them, you need to, like, group different, like, colored blocks together. And in some, you need to separate colored blocks. And in some, you need to, like, hit a couple of specific points on the line that you're creating. And in some, you need to do all of that, but make, like, one mistake that is then counteracted by, like, the mistake reversing marker. But if you don't make any mistakes, then the mistake reversing marker becomes a mistake in and of itself.
Man, I'm pretty in love with everything you're saying. This all sounds very, very good.
Yeah. So it's just, you do one, and that sort of like transfers electricity into the next one, and then you just go to the next one and you do that. In some of them, you have to like line up shadows that are being thrown by like the trees behind you to show you which places you can and cannot draw the line.
What? Yes, that sounds super very, good. Very good.
Now, if you are going to play The Witness, here is what I recommend. Absolutely do it. It's tons of fun. Also, don't feel bad if you have to cheat, because sometimes this game is like it's very clever and it makes you feel very smart when you get it. But sometimes, like, I just hit a wall, and I know, like, I can just look up the solution to this, or I can bash my head into it for an hour, and I would rather move on to the other things that are fun in this game.
Oh, yeah, dude. Video games aren't chores. As soon as something stops being fun, I stop. I mean, I don't really play it. I just stop doing it. That's not... I've got enough things in my life that are work. I don't need extra work.
Yeah, but this is a really great, just sort of like, I don't want to say it's mindless, because it really is a sort of like clever puzzle-solving game, but it's, you're not going through like a full story or whatever. It's not twitchy. You never die. If you mess up the puzzle, you need to try again on the puzzle, and then eventually you beat the puzzle and you move on. It's super great and just very lovely to look at.
Man, that sounds very, very cool.
Anyway, so those then are the 5 stars, Dave. So we are going to take a break. We are going to watch episode 38 of Chouriki Sentai Ohranger. It is called It's Tough Being a Majin. And we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. So we have just finished watching episode 38 of Ohranger. Dave, do you want to get us rolling on this?
Yeah. Okay. So it's always a little bit weird because it's the back half of a 2-parter.
Yes.
So the normal pacing that we would expect to see in an episode is kind of off. Like it just literally, it always throws me off actually because you're watching like the recap of last week's episode.
Yeah, and the recap just becomes the new episode.
Yeah, like they're like, here's the last 30 seconds of the scene, and you're like, of like the last couple of scenes, and you're like, oh, okay, like I'm watching, and you're waiting for a break, and then there isn't one, and just new things start happening.
Right.
And then so my notes.
Trying to find the part of the episode where it's like, okay, this is the recap, and now this is the show. There's always at least like a 10 to 15 second gap of like, wait, have I seen this footage before?
Yeah.
Especially because, they do reuse a lot of footage. So it's possible that in a new episode you are watching old footage, and so when you're coming at it from this angle, it's doubly confusing.
Yeah. But what happens is, so what happens is that Gun Majin blasts Bomber the Great. Like, Gun Majin, like, just super eye blasts Bomber the Great.
Because if you will recall from last week, Bomber the Great was trying to steal the key that was sort of like the magic lamp. Like, I guess Gun Majin himself is the magic lamp, and this is the key that opens the magic lamp.
Genie and the lamp, and the key is part of the... I don't know, man.
The key is part of it.
Gun Majin's whole deal is very, very weird.
Man, especially by the end of this episode, it's gonna get even weirder.
It does get even stranger. But yeah, like, Gun Majin... I may have mentioned this last week. Gun Majin doesn't so much, like, grant wishes so much as he's a very powerful being who is very, very bored and is looking for things to do.
Yes.
Who is like very open to suggestion.
I mean, listen, the last time anyone saw him was 600 million years ago? Like, that I think is like Ricky knew that he arrived then, and maybe he's popped up once or twice between now and then, but imagine rolling into a group of people that you haven't seen in a while, or like showing up at a place where you used to hang out, and then all the old people are gone and there are a bunch of new people. You're like, oh, I do want to hang out with everyone who's here, but I don't know what you people do here anymore. Like, what's the scene? What's going on? Like, what's good here?
Yeah, like, do we still giant robots? That's our...
Is that what we're doing now?
Cool. No,
I mean,
man, I'm down.
Sure.
That sounds great.
If that's what we're doing now, I'll steal a giant robot or two. Point me at it.
So he is still... It's kind of what he's trying to do. It does not kind of anything. He's just doing it. So Gun Majin eye blasts Bomber the Great, but Bara Police gets back in the fight. Okay, so and then Ricky shows up, and he's in King Pyramider, and he attacks Gun Majin, which does nothing. Like,
it goes very badly for him.
Yeah, at all.
Well, because what happens is he tries to attack Gun Majin with the pyramid laser. But Gun Majin just turns around and his back is an impregnable shield. So the laser just bounces off. We don't see where this laser lands. It just goes off like into the horizon. So somewhere 3 towns away, some building just exploded.
Yeah,
and nobody knows why.
A lot of trouble. But in all of this confusion, Bomber the Great does get the key. Like, he manages to get it off of Satoru. And he's like, hey, Gun Majin, I got the key. And Gun Majin just says like, ugh.
Oh, boy.
Dang.
Oh,
man,
gosh.
What a pickle I'm in now.
This is a bad situation.
Okay, I guess you've got the key. And so he just stops. He just stops and he just shrinks down. And Bomber the Great picks him up. So Bomber the Great just sort of grabs him like a football and runs.
Yeah.
And the Rangers. So we see the Rangers. And I think, are they back at the base at this point?
No, they're still just hanging out in the park.
Oh, that's right. They're just looking at, and they're super irritated with Gun Majin.
Yeah, and
very
it's
reasonably so.
totally reasonably. Shohei does some great face acting in this episode. Like, Shohei's facial expressions in this episode, because I feel like, I mean, listen, we are almost 40 episodes into this show. I am comfortable saying that we have not yet and will never get a lot of good characterization for most of the heroes in this show. Like, that's apparently just not what was important
I think if we were gonna,
Ohranger.
If we were going to get it, we were going to get it. You know, I think there is a way, Matt. Not that I regret having done it the way we did it. I think there is a degree to which we may have done ourselves an inadvertent disservice by starting out with Die Ranger and Jetman, which seem to be, at least as far as our experience goes, like, we knew this about Jetman to begin with, like, real highlights of the series. Like,
okay.
Oh, yeah, dang, dude. Like, those two.
That is potentially true, Dave, but if we didn't, we weren't going to start with a bad one, because if we were watching a bad one, we wouldn't have wanted to do a podcast about it.
Well, yeah, no, that's a good... Well, Matt, listen, you say that, but Matt and Michael are in, like, 400 episodes deep or something. I have no idea how many episodes of Power Rangers this guy have watched.
Dude, Morphin Grid is even further. Like, Ranger Danger, I think, is now just hitting In Space, and Morphin Grid is halfway through Lightspeed Rescue.
Holy cats. Yeah, so, you know, you say that, but...
Okay, so that is true. But, like,
anyways,
okay,
no.
I guess
so
what
the
I
point
mean
is
is...
Shohei does kill it this episode. He's
Yeah,
cool.
like, we may never find out anything about Shohei and his life, but the guy who plays Shohei puts in a lot of work on the, like, facial expression acting to
Yeah, no, he does
to make up for it.
So the Rangers are just very upset. So first they're upset, and then they realize they're like, ooh, oh, yeah, well, we are, let's take a step back. This is very, very bad. Like, this could be real trouble for us, because we've clearly demonstrated Gun Majin is crazy powerful.
Yeah. And they know, like, listen, we, like, our next move, our only move at this point, is we need to try to recover the key. This never happens in the course of this episode, but at least it was a good plan. While they are talking about this, gosh, it's been a week. Satoru?
Yeah, Satoru.
Yeah, Satoru, like, they're still in the park, and they're talking about how, like, terrible everything is and how the world might end. And Yuji looks over and sees Satoru just sort of, like, glumly throwing rocks into a pond. And he's like, oh, no. Like, we can't have this conversation next to Satoru, because Satoru really feels like all of this is his fault. And
Which,
so...
I mean, 100%. I mean, okay.
Okay,
I don't know that I would say
this
his
is
fault.
This is Gun Majin's fault. Like, all
Yeah.
of this goes back to the fact that Gun Majin is like an omnipotent idiot.
Yeah, Satoru is like the prime mover behind all of this. Like,
Yeah.
he is the snowflake that began the avalanche.
Yeah. So Yuji, to his credit, looks over at Satoru and is like, "Oh, okay. Like, you guys continue to have this conversation about how to save the world. I need to go comfort this, like, grieving child."
Yeah, and then the Rangers are like, "Oh, yeah, no, we should all very much be doing that." So
Yeah,
they
and
go
it's cool.
over and they're like,
Yeah.
"Listen, Satoru, it's okay. Like,
Like, the Ohringers will never give up. This will totally work out for the best. Don't worry.
Right, like-
Everything's cool.
like, we get it. It is a very cool, very giant robot. Like, we totally understand why you would want to ride in it. It's okay. Like, it's fine. You're a very little boy. Don't sweat it. The adults
All
will
is
handle
well.
this." So we go from there over to what I initially thought was the moon, but is in fact just a janky warehouse.
Oh, yeah, because Bomber the Great cannot wait to get Gun Majin in the game.
Yeah, there's a very excellent moment where he's doing like some victory spins. Like he's just like spinning around in a circle and he gets dizzy and falls over. And I assume that he was supposed to happen, but it would also be very funny if the suit actor just lost their balance in that giant ridiculous suit. So he gets the key and he's like, he summons Gun Majin, and Gun Majin just immediately shows up and he's huge. And he sees Bomber the Great, and he's like...
Bomber the Great, by the way, I don't know why Bomber the Great went inside a warehouse to do this, because the only thing he accomplishes by doing so is when he summons Gun Majin and, like, puts in the key and opens him up, Gun Majin immediately grows to such a height that he destroys the warehouse.
My only thought is that Bomber the Great wanted a skylight in this warehouse anyways, and thought he would kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what he's about to ask Gun Majin to do is to destroy the city. So I guess he's just trying to get a head start.
Yeah. Well, really... So, okay, so what he does is... Gun Majin immediately cops Bomber the Great, and he's like, oh, it's great, it's you. He's like, well, fine, like, what's your wish? What do you want? And he's like, just get out there and get crazy. Gun Majin, all I want, my wish is for you to just really kind of go nuts and just destroy everything and just kind of conquer Earth. That would be great. Yeah. And Gun Majin says, no, I will not do that.
Yeah, this seems bad.
This is a very bad wish, and it's very boring. I think what he actually says is, this doesn't amuse me.
Yeah, it's something like that, which is like, Gun Majin, your wish-granting rules are bananas.
They make absolutely no sense.
Once you have accepted it, you must complete it upon like pain of death. But if somebody asks you something and you don't want to do it, you could just nope out of it.
Yeah, he can just dip, and for no other reason than I don't find it amusing. Not even like this violates some rule or like a moral code.
Right, there's no ruling body. Gun Majin does not answer to anyone.
It is literally just like, that sounds boring, and so I'm not going to do it. So now what I do realize all of a sudden, though, is that Bomber the Great is missing an opportunity, because even if Gun Majin won't do that, whenever Gun Majin gets summoned, he just gets giant immediately. So it would be time consuming, but what he could do is just sneak into a bunch of basements and just summon Gun Majin. And then, yeah. So anyways...
Well, no, because we find out here, because Gun Majin is like, no, I'm not into it. And then Gun Majin shrinks.
Right, yeah, so he shrinks, and then he just goes back into his thing. And then so all Bomber the Great would have to do is take the little football-sized Gun Majin into the basement of the building, summon him, he would get giant and destroy the building, and then he would be like, oh, it's you again, and then he would shrink.
Because I think I think Bomber the Great tries to, like, reopen Gun Majin, and he's fiddling with the key and it won't open. And it's like, he is fiddling with that key like me trying to get into my old apartment where, like, the lock was just always kind of broken.
Yeah,
and just desperately rattling the key and just like, please open, please. This is the only thing I need right now.
So Gun Majin does have some ability to like recognize what is happening and decide that he won't pop out. Okay,
right. Again, all of this is up to Gun Majin. He is acting completely independently and is just kind of terrible.
So while he's doing that, Bulldome kind of sneaks up and like blasts him and steals the key.
Yeah,
he steals the key and he steals Gun Majin.
Which I do kind of love, because we forget, because Bulldome is a terrible, terrible child, we forget that Bulldome is also like basically a mini Bacchus Wrath, right?
Yeah, he is theoretically very powerful.
And we never see it until kind of right now. Like, he has been biding his time. He zaps Bomber the Great, he swoops up, grabs the key, grabs Gun Majin, and just dips back to the moon.
Yeah. So now we are back on the moon, which is, yeah. So we're back on the moon, and apparently Ancha and Kocha are back. Like, they're walking up, they're like, oh, Prince Bulldome, like, you're so great. Like, what a great job you did.
I love how, like, awful they are in this. Just the crappiest employees.
I really dig Acha. And to be totally honest, I feel like Acha and Kocha have a lot more personality than basically anybody in the Baranoia Empire, except maybe Bacchus Wrath.
Yeah.
Now, their character is like slimy and servile.
Yeah,
and,
like
and
slimy and obsequious, but like in a way that like works on the show.
Well, it works on the show, and it's a character. Yeah, like you say, he is a slimy, obsequious greaseball. But it's fun. Like, it works in the show. And I think it's especially fun, the dynamic between, like, Bomber the Great and the Baranoia royal family and all this stuff. So he shows up, and then Hysteria says, like, oh, no, you don't. You're terrible. And you, like, don't talk to me or my son ever again. And just starts, like, beating on him with her fan and stuff. And Acha and Coach are like, oh, no, we don't know. Like, we're good. Like, we were just spying on Bomber the Great for you. And, like, they'll
cool.
It's cool. Like, they will just do literally anything. And I love it. So they kind of go to an outskirt of the moon, I guess.
Wise. They at least go outside.
Yeah, and Bull summons Gun Majin, and Gun Majin he shows up and then he shrinks again. I think he shrinks again. And
oh no, he remains giant throughout the scene.
Oh, okay, thank you. And so he says, you look very suspicious. I'm not totally sure what's going on, but this all looks very bad.
Well, what's crazy is that what he says is, hey, you're a robot. And that last guy who tried to use me was also a robot. So I don't trust you robots. But Gun Majin, you also are a robot, my buddy.
He might be. He might be he looks like a robot, but he could also very much just be like Ninja Man also kind of looked like a robot, and he wasn't a robot.
That's true, probably.
This could just be like some weird robo armor or something that he has. So anyways, Bulldont says, oh no, like, yes, I am a robot, but ultimately in my heart what I am is a little boy, like just the saddest little boy, and all that I would like is to ride an O-blocker. And Gun Majin says, that's very suspicious. Like, I did already try and do that once for another familiar. Little boy. And that worked out very, very poorly. Like, that is not good. So he even says, he's like, are you trying to trick me? Is this a trick? Are you just doing this so that I will steal O-blocker for you? And Bulldont, first of all, Hysteria's like off stage doing like pageant mom directions, being like
Bulldont, you need to cry. He'll only believe you if you cry.
So this is where this plan gets incredible, beautiful, glorious maybe. I don't know. I think you could come up with a lot of adjectives that would work.
All of them good and praiseworthy.
Yeah, so Gun Majin is looking down at Bulldont. Like we said, he's like, this seems very suspicious. Bulldont starts crying real tears.
Yes.
Out of his robot face, real water tears. Gun Majin sees this and is just like, well, if you're crying, surely you must be telling the truth. We see behind Bulldont, and there is a tube running from the back of his leg out behind a rock. And Acha and Kocha are standing there with like an old-timey bicycle pump, and they are pumping tears through a tube like out of Bulldont's face. Because he's a robot and he can do that.
I really love that what this means is that, like, obviously they rigged this up in a jiffy, but Bulldont must already have been wired for this, right? Like, they couldn't have taken a moment to, like, install tear ducts in him.
Man, I don't know. Like, I don't know how modular Baranoia robots are.
Those guys could be... It's like a weird Mr. Potato Head put in your crying eyes.
Yeah, like, I don't know, dude. Maybe. But anyways, so Gun Majin is like, well, okay then.
Well,
like,
Gun Majin, when faced with a crying child, Gun Majin does the only thing reasonable, which is to do everything in his power to stop that child from crying.
Yeah, that is a true.
I mean, I get it. He makes a bad call here, but I do understand.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand where Gun Majin is coming from in this. So we see the Ohrangers, and they're in their base, and there's like some alarms going off, and they go over and they look at these TV screens, and what they see is Gun Majin calling for O Blocker, and they all look at each other, and they don't say it, but you can just see in their eye, like they just look at each other and with their eyes say, "Oh, what the hell?" Like,
yeah,
what?
Come on,
what?
man.
Come on, dude.
And one of them is like, I cannot believe that he fell for their lies.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing: they've dealt with Gun Majin for a minute now, and they're starting to get a little insight into Gun Majin's lack of a thought process.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, like, okay, well, he doesn't know that he's being tricked.
Right.
And also, we can't beat him. We've demonstrated that he is definitely way tougher than we are.
Yeah, and they're sort of in a bad place here, right? Because what he's saying is like, oh, come and bring O Blocker out to me and surrender it to me. And they're like, well, we can't go fight him, because if we get an O Blocker to go fight him, then he's gonna just take it because he's tougher than us. But we need to do something because he's just like potentially going to destroy the city. Now, at no point in this conversation does anyone bring up the fact that they have another giant robot.
It does feel weird. It seems like they've completely forgotten. Despite, like, O Blocker is like 4 episodes old at this point.
Right, but like Ohranger Robo is gone.
So we see Gun Majin, and he's just kind of he's not actually doing much. He's just sort of tromping around the city because, like, he doesn't have to do much. He's just kind of hoping that they bring O Blocker out. Because he doesn't, like, I love Gun Majin because he's super, super powerful, but it's only in, like, one specific vector. He has no capacity to find O Blocker. Like, he doesn't know where it is.
Right. But if it shows up, he can zap it with his sword.
Yeah. So he's just trying to tromping around the city. Ricky decides to get involved, and he's like, Gun Majin, I will defeat you! Except he's a 14-year-old boy. And so he drives King Pyramidder up, and King Pyramidder does like a super energy blast. Gun Majin just like... It's extra good when Gun Majin deflects an attack because he deflects it, like he said, his cloak is like an impenetrable shield, so he just turns his back on an attack and it bounces off, but it does give him a very cool move. It's just like, because you attack him and he just turns his back to you and doesn't care.
Like, not only does he survive, he does it dismissively.
Yeah, so he does not care at all, and at this point, Satoru arrives. And so, like, he makes his way through the rubble and chaos of the city, and he uses his tiny little boy voice, and he yells, and somehow Gun Majin hears him over, like, crumbling buildings and his own gigantic feet and King Pyramidder's energy blasts and everything. He hears Satoru, and Satoru says, Gun Majin, like, you have to stop. Like, please do not do this. I don't even want to ride an O Blocker anymore. And Gun Majin's like, ooh, no, that's I'm really glad that you got that sorted out, and you were a very good master.
Yeah, but don't worry, nothing bad is going to happen. The kid cried, and so I know that he was being honest, and so I just need to put him in there, and everything is going to be cool. So we're good, everything's chill, just hang there for a minute.
Just chill. I very, very much do need to get O Blocker, though, because I have to. So he unleashes a new power, which is he just like points his sword at King Pyramidder and uses telekinesis to flip it upside down.
Actually, I think that was the first power we saw him do.
Oh no, you're right. Is it first sword? Anyways,
yeah, it's the first sword technique.
Yeah, so he flips King Pyramidder upside down and he's sort of shaking it around and he's like, you do need to give me O Blocker. Like, I would prefer not to do any of this, but you do need to give me O Blocker, and if you don't, like, you just have to. And so once they... Okay, I have a small problem with what's about to happen here. Because once they decide Like, oh, we need to deploy Oh, he starts doing a countdown. This is really important. He says, you have 10 seconds to get me O-Blocker. And he starts doing a countdown. And the Rangers go from in their base to fully transformed in O-Blocker, out the cannon, and landing where Gunmagin is by the time he hits 3.
Yeah.
Which would be fine.
I don't see any trouble.
It wouldn't be fine. That's ridiculous. But it would be fine, except that we have previously established, with O-Blocker specifically, that it takes way longer to do that stuff. Like when O-Blocker, do you remember this? Like when O-Blocker first showed up, there was like this 30-second bomb time, or there was this bomb timer that was going, and we're like, oh, this is great. We're seeing how much time all of this stuff takes.
Well, yeah, but that was the first week they had O-Blocker. They've had a little time to practice with him now, so they've really got it down to a science.
So they've really shaved it down to less than 10 seconds.
Yeah, the thing is, Dave, that when we're not watching the characters do this stuff, they're still working. And what they're doing right now specifically is just like 24/7 running speedrun tactics on like getting O-Blocker into the field. They're doing time trials, Dave.
You know what? Yeah, awesome. Yes, that's fantastic. That's so they do, and they land O-Blocker in 7 seconds is how long it takes them to do that very complicated thing. So they arrive and they square up to fight, and Gunmagin, at first he's very excited. He's like, "Oh, great. Oh, no. You're not just going to give me O-Blocker, are you?"
Yeah.
And O-Blocker does, he summons his sword, like his twin swords, and I think he has the coolest like sword summon, because he just sort of holds his fists out, and then there's like animated light flashes that sort of coalesce into these twin swords. It looks real neat.
It is extremely good. And while he's doing this, Goro is talking to Gunmagin. He's like, my dude, like, you have been tricked by an evil robot from space. It is like, do not listen to this child. We are trying to stop you from destroying everything. Please, you have to believe me. And Gunmagin will do no such thing.
Yeah. Now, what he, Bulldont, so now everybody's there. Like, Bulldont's there, Bomb of the Great is there, Bara Police is there, like, everybody's there. And Bulldont does say, destroy Ohranger. But, like, I don't think Gunmagin really hears him. So, like, Bara Police goes giant. He starts fighting. So now it's sort of like a 3-way fight between Bara Police and O-Blocker and Gunmagin. They're like shooting energy bolts, and Bara Police has his gun, and like I think Bara Police uses giant cuffs on O-Blocker.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, it's real neat. And during all of this, they inadvertently blast a tree. And it falls on Sadaru.
Right.
And he's
killing
not
him
like,
instantly,
it doesn't like
of course.
Yeah, like it doesn't like crush his head or anything. He's trapped under this very small tree.
It's fine. Not that small of a tree. If this were not a television show, this child would never walk properly again. Like, it is a bad scene.
So anyways,
it is a television show, which just means that like he is immobile for 1 minute and he will be completely fine after this.
So Sadaru looks up at Gunmagin and basically says, like, Gunmagin, I love you, but you have got to get some chill. Like, you have got, like, just chill out, dude. Like, you've got to stop doing this. This is ridiculous.
What he says specifically is, Gunmagin, I love you, but when you don't know the difference between right and wrong, I hate you.
Ah, thank you. Thank you for getting that down. And so now Gunmagin finally gets it. He's like, oh, maybe I took the wrong risk. So he, like, reaches down and he saves Sadaru. Oh, this is where Bara Police gets the cuffs on. Bara Police gets the cuffs on O-Blocker.
So once Bara Police gets the cuffs onto O-Blocker, Bulldont is like, oh man, Bara Police is going to kill O-Blocker, but that's not what I want. I'm going to kill O-Blocker.
Yeah, he does. He kind of screws himself here.
Yeah, so what he says is like, Gunmagin, you, like, stop Bara Police and you kill O-Blocker. And then Gunmagin says, hold on a second. That is not what I signed up for.
Whoa, buddy. Hey there, little pal. I said you could ride in it, not that I would destroy it for you. So this is when, like, now Gun Majin's like, it's game over. Because Bulldog doesn't know the rules.
Right. No one knows the rules. The rules are unknowable.
Well,
to be fair.
but like we do know a couple of the rules. So Bulldog, Gun Majin's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not destroying O-Blocker. You said you wanted to ride it. It's a very different thing. And Bulldog is like, yeah, well, I'm the master, and I've got the key, and I say you have to do it.
Right. And
Gun Majin's
you said that you would do it already, so you've got to do it.
And Gun Majin's like, nope, not going to do that.
Nope, now that I know that you were lying, I am, like, freed from my bonds to fulfill your wish.
Oh, that's right.
And
that is
also,
the thing. It's like, you tricked me, and so now I don't have to do it. That's
right. Like, you broke the unspoken contract
that only I knew about. So once that happens, Gun Majin turns to O-Blocker and he's like, sorry, bro. sorry there, guy. And he like cuts the cuffs off and he says, I'll kill Bara Police to make it up to you. Like, what if I kill this other sentient being? Would that make you feel better?
I mean, to be fair, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very bad robot, so...
And what I like is that up to this point, we have seen... Because every time Gun Majin does a special technique, it is one of his, like, sword techniques. So we've seen his first, second, and third sword techniques. But when he goes to attack Bara Police here, he skips the fourth one and goes straight to the fifth one, which I love. He's just like, okay, now it is time to turn it up a gear. And the fifth sword technique is like... It's kind of like the one we saw earlier where
It's like a combo technique, kind of. It's like... There's like... It goes into slow-mo, and then like it all gets dark, and then he like picks them up with like lightning telekinesis, and then does like a super blast.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much is it. Now, what's weird... What I thought it was weird is that they didn't just have Gun Majin finish off Bara Police. Like, they did feel the need to get O-Blocker in there somehow.
Well, because Bara Police gets free. Bara Police manages to, like, shoot Gun Majin to, like, knock himself out of the telekinesis electricity field.
Oh, that's right. And then when he does that, that's when they do the Twin Blocker Blast. I think...
Twin Block and Crash, Dave.
Oh, sorry. Twin Block and Crash. Twin Block and Crash is my favorite giant sword finisher, I think, since Dyrano.
It is extremely good, because that sword gets so long.
Yeah, it's super great. So, once this is all done, so, like, Bara Police is dead. Great. And Gun Majin punishes Bolton with the only punishment that he knows, which is to pick you up and put you in a tree. Which is the same thing he did to the bullies last episode, the first time he showed up.
I mean, that is a little silly, but on the other hand, an impossibly powerful, like, giant robot, I am glad that he does not get more creative with his punishments.
Okay, yeah, that's a good
like,
good point.
It is a good thing that he limits himself to, like, treeing people.
So he does that thing, and the key, like, it just disappears?
Yeah, like, he reclaims the key to himself.
Yeah, so it disappears, and Gun Majin shrinks down to his sort of football sort of size, and then he flies away into the sky, announcing his own name.
And I don't know if we are ever going to see him again.
Yeah, I really thought we were setting up for Gun Majin to be a thing, and this seems fairly final that he's just gone now, which is, I just don't know how to handle it. Like, I was really setting up for, like, Gun Majin to eventually, like, combine with the other robots or something, and dude just dips.
Yeah.
And all the Rangers are also kind of confused. And then they see...
Okay,
Satoru.
Dave, I am looking it up. We will see Gun Majin again.
Okay, yeah, thank you. It just seemed too weird that we wouldn't. So, the Rangers see Satoru, and they're looking into the sun. He's looking into the sunset, and he just says, "Well, I do love Gun Majin, but this is probably for the best." Which, yeah, buddy, it's definitely for the best. This is definitely the best option. That is, Gun Majin is not around.
Yeah, like he is. he is a terror. Like, he does not mean to be, but he is the wrong thing to have around anytime.
Yeah, and then they're like, and then they're talking to Satoru, and they say, "Listen, it's great to have dreams. Like, dreams are wonderful, but you should have proper dreams. Like, you should have good proper dreams that follow the rules," which is so Japanese. I sort of can't handle it.
Yeah, but
like, it's
what
just
is
so
nice,
like, have dreams, but like proper, socially acceptable dreams.
appropriate dreams. But what is
Appropriate
nice
dreams.
is that, like, from earlier in the episode, earlier from last episode rather, we know that one of his dreams is just like to chill with the Ohrangers, and all the Ohrangers like stay and hang out with him, and like he's like playing with them and doing cartwheels, and like that is how the episode ends.
Yeah, Yuji's very proud of his little kid flips, and that is great. So so that's it for the episode, Matt.
Yeah, well, it's it for the episode, but it's not quite it for our episode, Dave, because now we need to determine where Bara Police fares in the Creature Royale.
Yeah, so I'm kind of torn on this dude because he's got a very cool look, and he's got a very cool special attack, and that he throws giant handcuffs at you, and I like that quite a bit. But aside from that, he's basically a non-entity. You know what I mean? Like, he's not actually doing anything.
Well, he doesn't really do anything this episode, but remember last episode, he, like, replaced the actual chief of police and was causing, like, police riots in the city.
Oh, yeah, that is true. And he is he was very good in a fight, so that was neat.
So he's not nothing. Like, there is something going on there. Where do you think that he lines up against the other police monster from Kakuranger, whose name was Azuki-Arai? I think that he looks cooler than Azuki-Arai.
He definitely looks cooler than Azuki-Arai. He does not have like a crazy secret passage dungeon.
Well, that is true. And that's going to hurt him in the rankings.
That's going to hurt him a lot, not having a secret passage dungeon. But they do both impersonate Chief of Police. I don't know. Actually, I think it seems kind of washy to me. I feel like Azuki-Arai had a lot more character. He's got a secret trap dungeon. They both imitate police officers, so they're keyed up on that point. But then Bara Police looks a lot cooler and is a lot tougher. So, man.
Okay, well, what's directly above and below Azuki-Arai? Above, we have the vacuum dimension, who stole the love from people.
Yeah, and
like
then
he's like an evil vacuum that sucked out people's emotions. That is cooler than Bara Police.
Yeah, and then below that is Bara Boxer.
Boxer, Dave, who is Bara Boxer?
Bara Boxer is a very large robot boxer, and he's cool, and he has giant spiky gloves.
He has
and that
giant
is his
spiky gloves, and he's cool. Man, Bara Police has to go above it because I do not remember who Bara Boxer is.
Yeah, so I would say, is Azuki-Arai and Bara Boxer going to be a rare tied up slot?
Man, no, okay, let's say that Azuki-Arai is better than Bara Police because Azuki-Arai also had, like, there was a lot of stuff going on with him. Like, he had his own posse.
He did. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm down. Azuki-Arai is better.
Yeah. It's close. But I feel pretty good about that. So that means that Bara Police goes into the list at our new number 106.
Yes, he does.
Okay. And then that, Dave, at long last, is going to do it for this episode of For Your Eyes, Ohranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you want to get any updates on the future episodes or check out what we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you want to get depressed by something on Twitter, Dave has a fun new project that we mentioned earlier in the show. Dave, what was that called again?
Oh, yeah. It is called Also Sparkziggy, ALSOSPARCHZIGGY. And I'll just leave you with the most recent tweet from that handle, which is as follows. This is from the December the 4th cartoon from 1972. He attempts the flight of Icarus. He will fare no better. Perhaps he knows this and is willing to embrace death in exchange for one sweet moment of freedom and glory. lacking the genius of Daedalus, it is likely that he will simply die.
Ziggy, man. Okay. With that, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.